Hi, I'm Mike Potter, and I'd like to welcome you to the True Wealth Financial Show, a show dedicated to providing Christians with the information and inspiration to successfully navigate financial decisions, intentionally build wealth, and retire with confidence so that they can focus on the more important aspects of life. I appreciate you taking the time to tune in today. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Additionally, you can find more information on our website at www.truewealth.show. And now, let's get on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the True Wealth Show. As always, thank you for taking the time to tune in, watch, or listen to this week's show. Great job in continuing to invest in your financial future. Proverbs 29:18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he." William Ward said, "There are 4 steps to achievement: plan purposefully, prepare prayerfully, proceed positively, and pursue persistently." This month, we've been talking about financial planning. Why have we been talking about financial planning? Well, it's my supposition that most people in life desire freedom. And there's 4 freedoms in life. There's the freedom of purpose, being able to do what you want to do, the freedom of time, being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it, the freedom of relationship, being able to do it with whom you want, and the freedom of money. And it's that 4th one, in my mind, is the undercarriage, the bedrock, the foundation for the other 3 freedoms. But here's the problem. Money is confusing. It's complicated. It's complex. If you don't believe me, the IRS just published a regulation about a month or 2 ago on the RMDs based upon the Secure Act that came out almost 4 years ago, over 4 years ago, actually. It took the IRS 4 years to convey and figure out and publish the regulation of a law that came out 4 years ago. Yeah, money is complex for sure, no doubt about it. But I believe that financial planning is a discipline to help you navigate through those complex waters and, more importantly, help you derive the financial freedom that you ultimately desire. So, what if you don't want to hire a financial advisor or a financial planner? What if you're more of a DIY type of guy or gal? Well, that's where you want to start creating your own financial plan, and that's what we're going to unpack today. This month, we've been talking about financial planning as a discipline, the definition of it, what it entails. Last week, we talked about how to find a planner, and today I want to unpack, if you're going to do your own plan, what are the first couple of steps that you want to do to get you going in the right direction? I think there's at least 3. That's what we're going to talk about today. Step number 1, you want to take current stock of where you are holistically when it comes to finance, right? So ideally, what that means for most people is to get organized, right? There's stuff here, there's accounts here, there's logins here, there's paperwork here. A lot of people are disorganized when it comes to their financial lives. The first thing to do is get organized as part of taking stock where you are. Clean out the financial closet, if you will. Get everything together, put it on a stack of paper, put it in a folder, put it in a binder, and get it all together. When you do that, you want to then go through all the different things that you own and owe and create what's called a balance sheet, a net worth balance sheet. And essentially what that is it's a document or an Excel spreadsheet, or you can use software. But in tabular form, it's basically a list of all the things that you own and the value of them, and your liabilities or your debts of all the things that you owe. And so if the asset is worth more than you owe, like maybe on a car, you have a car that's maybe worth $20,000, but you owe 10, your value, your equity is $10,000 for that car. So your assets minus your liabilities totaled down is your net worth. And that's what you want to try to figure out. And so what that is it's a one-stop snapshot of where you are holistically with money at that point in time. So that's the first thing you want to do as you're beginning to kind of get an awareness of where you are. But that's just a snapshot. That doesn't count for money coming in, doesn't count for money going out. And that's where you want to do some sort of cash flow analysis. You want to kind of want to track your spending, your income, things like that. You can do that several different ways. You can do that through a spreadsheet. You can do it through a budgeting app. We did a whole show last summer on budgeting apps. things like YNAB, Every Dollar, things like that. Or you can use planning tools. Like we use Right Capital in our financial practice, and that has a budgeting sheet. It'll pull that in. It'll also create the balance sheet and honestly a whole lot more and track it over time. But step one is getting a comprehensive understanding of where you are, which leads us to step number two. So once you know where you are, you want to begin to figure out where you're going. Well, the way to start that is not to start defining where it is, defining it more of a why. You need a compelling why, because for the journey ahead, it's going to take intentionality, it's going to take purpose, it's going to take discipline, it's going to take diligence, it's going to be frustrated over time, and things like that. So you have to understand why you're trying to get to where you are. Not where you're trying to get to, not yet, but why you're trying to get there. You need a compelling why. That compelling why can be utilized, the way we do it at least, is through a statement of financial purpose. Statement of financial purpose. And what that is, essentially, it's the overarching purposes or things that you value that you want to either achieve or at all costs, no matter what, you want to avoid. Right? So for a lot of people, it's things like family. It's things like faith. It's things like taking care of her spouse. It's things like, I had a client, and I think this is a great one. Her purpose with money is to make it where money doesn't matter. Her goal with money is to make it where it doesn't get the major say in their decisions anymore. She wants to have enough wealth and enough comfortability and enough savings and enough investments to the point where they can do what they want to do and money doesn't get the primary vote. For most people, that's how they live their life. For most people, they want to do something, they look at their money and their money says, no, you can't do it. Well, her goal is to make it where money doesn't get a vote. I think that's great. I love that. So to help illustrate this, I will show you my statement of financial purpose. It's by no means to be prescriptive. It doesn't have to look like mine. I'm just sharing it with you to give you an idea of what it is. And it's something we try capturing Right Capital so that every time everyone logs in, they can see it right away. And it's kind of a reminder of, hey, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So the purpose of money in my life, really, the major things, the big rock things are fourfold. Number one is to ensure that Mrs. Beautiful is provided for. Right? And I have verses associated with mine, Bible verses. You don't have to have those, again, but it's just something that I do. Right? So my number one goal with money is to ensure that my wife is provided for no matter what happens, whether I'm living, whether I'm dead, whether I'm working, whether I'm not, whether I'm disabled, whether I'm perfectly healthy. I want to make sure that that woman is taken care of financially. Right? So that is number one for me. Number two, it's meant to enable freedom, right? I value freedom. It's one of my core moving towards values. I like the idea of being able to go places and do what I want to do and do it when I want to do it and do it how I want to do it and do it with I do it. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. That's why I own my own business, right? So I really value freedom as a thing. And so for me, that's one of the things that I use the money to enable. Number three is to support ministry. So we are Christians. We give a lot of money to churches and missionaries and ministries and things like that. And so part of the income that we have and the money and the wealth and the things that we grow, it is all geared towards helping support that to a large degree. And then number four is to leave a financial legacy, right? So the Bible says, a righteous man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. So I have a strong desire to change my family tree. Not just from a biblical perspective, which I've tried to do, from a character perspective and a hardworking perspective, but then to give my kids and hopefully my future grandchildren money to be able to then excel so that they're not starting the same place we are. Essentially, they can level up along the way. And so teaching them how to handle money, giving them money, helping them build wealth, things like that. So that is the four things that I value or my purpose with money. And then from that, there's obviously goals and the such. Which brings us to the third step. So if you're starting out your own financial plan, the first step is to get a holistic idea of where you are financially speaking. You can generally do that through two things, a balance sheet, as well as a cash flow analysis of some sort. Then you want to identify a compelling why for that. We call that a statement of financial purpose. Then the next step after that is to define some major goals And you can go out a long way, but I'd actually recommend just starting with, hey, what are we trying to achieve with money in the next 1 to 3 years, right? What are our money milestones? And generally think of this as things that are more than maybe, $1,000 or $2,000. It depends on your world, obviously, how much money you have in your world, but think of things more than $2,000, say. So what are we trying to do? What's the big rocks that we're trying to achieve that might be more than $2,000 for this one thing? Right? It could be a handful of things. So it could be paying down debt. We want to get out of debt. We have this credit card. We owe $7,000 on it. We want to pay it off. We have this car that we owe $17,000. We want to pay that off in the next 2 or 3 years, right? It could be things like that. It could be getting completely on debt. It could be paying off your mortgage. If you're within striking distance of paying off your mortgage in the next year or two, it could be, hey, that's a major goal for us to get 100% debt free. A goal could be to build savings, right? We want to get our emergency fund to this. We want to save up for this. We're trying to buy the next car, right? We're not in debt anymore, but we're trying to save up for the car. So we're trying to save up for it, things like that. It could be things like investing. This year, we want to max out our Roth IRA. So for the average person, they can do $7,000 this year. If you're over 50, you can do $8,000. That is a goal. We want to max out our Roth IRA this year. We want to put so much money into a 529 for our children, for our grandchildren, things like that. Don't put if you're a grandparent, don't put money in a 529 for your grandchildren. There's a better way to do that won't maybe penalize them as much later. Different story for a different episode, right? But you get the idea, right? What are the big rocks we're trying to hit with money? For a lot of people, it's going to be one-time purchases. It's going to be one-time things you're going to buy or experiences you're going to have, things like Christmas time, right? Like it's August. So that means Christmas is only about 3 months away. So if you haven't already, it would be a good idea to start saving up for Christmas. Could be vacations. Like I said, new cars. Could be you're buying a house or upgrading a house. So you want more of a down payment. You need furniture. I hear that that's important when you move into a house, right? So furniture inside of that house might be good. Could be a home project, a home remodel. It could be things like kid activities. I want to send my kid to this camp, to this music thing, to this activity, to this trip, to this experience, things like that. Braces, right? We put all our kids through braces. They all had braces. One had braces and Invisalign. But, those are $3,000 or $4,000 a pop. Generally, we would just pay cash right from the get-go because we get a discount for them. And then there's always like large purchases like, campers and RVs and, all kinds of things like that, sheds, stuff like that. And so what you want to do is you want to list out all of those, of the things it is that you think you want, that's hopefully in line with those values, that compelling why. And I'll be honest with you, this is the most difficult step because if you ask people, what is it that you want? A lot of people don't know what they want, honestly. And so it's an iterative process that you have to go through. Essentially, what we do when we work with someone from a planning perspective, there's a handful of steps in between these steps 2 and 3, where we go through some life planning. And we'll maybe do an episode on that some other time. But we go through a handful of life planning steps. And life planning is all about the idea of living life by design rather than, what most people do is they just live it by default. They kind of start going and then they get an opportunity and they make this turn and they get an opportunity and they go over here and then they wish they're back over there and then they get going and this is how people get into their 40s and they're like, I hate where I'm at in life. Right? It's because they let life drive them by default instead of driving life by design. All right, so we go through a handful of processes, 3 questions, a bucket list, some visionary exercises of a 10-year vision, 3-year vision, right? All going back to the idea where there is no vision, the people perish. Most people struggle in their money because they're struggling in their lives because they don't have a larger plan that they're trying to achieve. They just let the whims of life kind of take them, kind of like the sea. Wherever the sea will take me, that's where I end up. And then they get frustrated that they're on some deserted island somewhere, right? Playing with a volleyball. All right, so the idea is you have to know what you want to do. So that's why we go through those life planning exercises when we work with clients. But essentially, once you have those big rocks that you want to achieve, now you need to prioritize them in some means, ways, or fashion. You can prioritize them by date, like we need to do this first or this is second. You can prioritize them by duration, how long they last or how long they'll take. You could prioritize them by amount. This is more, this is less, so this one will be easier than that one. We could do that. You could prioritize them by depending where you are in terms of, working the path to financial framework. That gives you a step-by-step way of knowing what to do first, what to do second, so on and so forth. So if you were to start your own financial plan, that is how you would start. You would go about doing those 3 steps. Those 3 steps essentially is what we run through when we walk people through the True Wealth Assessment. But as a DIYer, you can do it yourself too. The True Wealth Assessment is a financial checkup of sorts that helps you gain financial control, clarity, and confidence that you can either know for sure you're on the right track or what adjustments you need to make. And through it all, you'll get access to Right Capital. There's a link down below if that might have interested you. Just imagine what it would be like to have complete control over your money. You'd have clarity on where you're trying to go and confidence knowing that you're on the path to achieve it. That is what financial planning can do for you. And now you know the first 3 steps. Your micro action for the week. Determine where you are holistically when it comes to money by creating some sort of net worth balance sheet or something like that. If I can be of any help to you, please feel free to reach out. There are some links down below. Today, we talked about how to start your own financial plan, getting an idea of where you are, coming up with a compelling why in the form of a statement of financial purpose, and clearly defining what it is that you want in life and money over the next 3 years. Hope this helps you on your financial journey to enhance your financial future. And until next time, hope you have a great day. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this week's episode of the True Wealth Financial Show. I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Additionally, you can find more information on our website at www.truewealth.show. One final note, though, as we wrap up to today's show. While I hope the information was helpful, valuable, and insightful, it's really for information and educational purposes only. Prior to making any decisions or taking any actions, I'd strongly encourage you to talk to your legal, tax, estate, or financial advisor who's familiar with the unique circumstances of your particular personal situation. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, hope you have a great day.